Coming up, the latest on the flooding and storm threat overnight.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 11.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. Rain is moving through the mountains and some stronger storms could impact us overnight. Almost everyone is also now under a flood watch. Meteorologist Eric Dean has the latest on this first alert weather day. Eric.
That's right, Steve. As you mentioned, almost everybody is under a flood watch until tomorrow. Rowan County has now been added to the flood watch. Here's the latest with live pinpoint Doppler radar, and we'll go ahead and pinpoint over towards the London area where we are seeing some heavy thunderstorm activity. We're seeing some lightning across portions of Rockcastle County. Let's go ahead and take a look here at the past several hours, and we'll talk about how we got to where we were. And you're noticing one thing over the past several hours. The lightning and activity has started to really ramp up, and you can see here how it just started to get its act together towards Somerset, pushing its way through London, pushing its way now towards Manchester. So Manchester, here's your first alert. A nice little round of shower and thunderstorm activity will be pushing near you. Now all the activity is still off towards the west, over towards portions of Louisville, going into Elizabethtown, over towards Bowling Green. We're just to the north and west of Bowling Green is under a severe thunderstorm warning. Again, flood watch is in effect until 1 o'clock. First alert weather day is in effect for tonight going into tomorrow. We'll talk about that coming up in the first alert forecast in a few minutes. Steve.
Eric, thanks. With thunderstorms in the forecast, experts say it's important to prepare for the potential for severe weather. This includes making sure you have windshield wipers that work right. Meteorologists with the National Weather Service in Jackson say you should also use caution while driving. And if you see standing water, do not drive through it.
We promote turn around, don't drown, because when waters flood roads, we don't know how deep the water is. It only takes 12 inches of swiftly moving water to start floating vehicles, even small SUVs.
For 24/7 severe weather updates, you can always download the WYMT First Alert weather app. A woman is dead after a house fire in Bell County. It happened this morning in the Page community. State police say 69-year-old Donna Bird was found dead. There were 3 other people inside the home at the time. All of them were able to escape. At the end of the month, expectant mothers in Harlan County will have to travel out of town to give birth after Harlan ARH officials announced they will be suspending labor and delivery services. WYMT's Caroline Mueller tells us how this could impact families.
Hospital leaders say it was not a decision they wanted to make. But with lower birth rates and Harlan County's population projected to decrease, there is not enough demand.
There was a period here just between November and December where we went 34 days without having a single delivery on the unit.
CEO of Harlan ARH, Joe Horton, says Whitesburg ARH delivers approximately 45 babies a month, while Harlan delivers less than 5.
At that rate, it's really unsustainable.
Miracle Reisner had all 3 of her children at Harlan ARH. She says this news took her by surprise.
I was outraged. This is a huge part of the community, and we rely on the health care that they provide for us, and them taking it from us so quickly has just been, I don't even have words for it, hardly. It's awful.
The hospital's 12 labor and delivery nurses were told Monday about the shutdown. Registered nurse Katrina Enlow says she did not see this coming, but the hospital is working with them to make sure they still have a job.
To try to, maybe partners with Whitesburg ARH, Middlesboro ARH, and offer, positions in-house if we choose to do that and, to stay.
Enlow says she was aware of the decline, but thought things were starting to get better.
They say with OB, it's either feast or famine. Like, we've either got a big baby boom or we don't have anything.
Hospital officials say the ER will be able to handle obstetrical emergencies. Chief Medical Officer for the Cumberland Valley region, Robin Mignani, says though not ideal, the ER is prepared to deliver a baby.
We would rather transfer you if we have time. But in the event that you're here and you're going to have your baby right now, we're going to deliver your baby. And we're going to take great care of you and your baby.
Enlow recommends patients educate themselves to keep them and their babies safe.
On, abnormal signs and symptoms of, OB emergencies, pregnancy emergencies, you know, what's right, what's not right, what warrants a trip to the hospital.
For many in the community, this decision feels like a huge loss, but hospital officials say they have a plan to continue to help. In Harlan County, Caroline Mueller, WYMT, Mountain News.
Hospital officials say they are working on negotiations to open a women's health clinic offering care up until delivery. They expect that decision to be made within 30 days. Kentucky lawmakers could face some issues this legislative session that come as a result of actions happening in Washington, D.C. Kentucky's Senate president was asked about a number of things during a meeting at a Frankfurt coffee shop today. Some of the topics included Medicaid, the Department of Education's future, and minimum wage. Senate Democrats also announced their priorities today for the session. They include fully funding public education and helping people with housing. Lawmakers are discussing a bill that would limit the governor's pardon ability. Senate Bill 126 would prevent the governor from granting pardons 30 days before an election until the next inauguration. It's being proposed as a constitutional amendment, meaning Kentuckians can vote on it. Today, Senator Christian McDaniel spoke on the importance of the bill, saying it would create more accountability.
It is simply a common sense measure to put in front of the voters of the Commonwealth a change to the Constitution to force accountability into a process.
Lawmakers filed the bill in reaction to former Governor Matt Bevin's last-minute pardons. You might remember in the weeks before he left office, he pardoned and commuted the sentences of close to 600 people. A bill has also once again been filed to end daylight saving time in the Commonwealth. House Bill 308 was introduced yesterday by Representative Stephen Doan of Erlanger. He filed a similar bill last year aiming to stop the practice. That bill and another one in 2023 failed to advance. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children says between 2021 and 2023, the number of online enticement reports increased by more than 300%. These acts, including sexual extortion of minors, prey on online vulnerability, and lawmakers in Frankfurt say they are looking to address it. Jessica Umbro reports.
It's not that Kentucky doesn't care, it's that we just haven't kept up with these negative trends and these crimes against children.
Senator Julie Rocky Adams' bill on sexual extortion or sextortion would make the act a felony, establish its penalties, and require school superintendents to notify students in grades 4 and up and all legal guardians of the crime of sexual extortion to educate the public.
Most parents or schools don't even know what to do when something like this happens.
In some cases, victims, including children, take their own lives due to the trauma of being coerced into providing sexually explicit photos and videos, and then being pressured to meet demands to prevent the sexual content from being leaked publicly.
It's here, it's real, and it's devouring the innocence of our youth.
As any piece of legislation makes it through both chambers, changes can be made to modify or to expand upon what the legislation covers. Democratic Senator David Yates says that he's in support of this bill and all of the conversations that come along with it.
I think Senator Rocky Adams is correct in moving this forward, and I support her.
Senator David Yates says throughout the session, work can be done on the bill to further specify how and when the bill would be applied to sexual extortion cases.
I think the idea is to make sure we have the very best piece of legislation passed, and I'm really committed to working with my colleagues in doing that.
And with a similar bill being proposed last year, Senator Rocky Adams says lawmakers have had plenty of conversations about sextortion's impact on Kentuckians of all ages.
It's not new to anybody, it's been out there, and the time is now to act.
In Frankfurt, Jessica Umbro, WKYT.
Senate Bill 73 will be discussed in the Senate Judiciary Committee meeting tomorrow morning. U.S. Senator Mitch McConnell reportedly fell twice today at the Capitol in Washington. Reports say McConnell had just cast a vote when he fell while walking down a small set of stairs near the Senate chamber. He then fell again at a policy lunch a short time later. A spokesperson for the 82-year-old senator is blaming the lingering effects of polio in his left leg, adding that he will now use a wheelchair as a precautionary measure. Just more than 2 weeks in, the second Trump administration is sparing no time to assert control and force change across parts of the federal government. Today, protesters took to the streets across the U.S. CBS's Erica Brown has the latest from Washington.
Across the U.S., protesters gathered to speak out against some of the Trump administration's actions in the first weeks of the president's second term.
Immigrants are welcome here. Hey, hey, no fear.
Some focused on President Trump's plans to deport millions of undocumented immigrants, while others called out billionaire Elon Musk's efforts to help Trump shrink the federal government.
Elon Musk has got to go.
Members of Musk's Doge team, who are not government employees, have access to a treasury system that handles trillions of dollars in grants, Social Security, and other payments to millions of Americans. In another move, the administration directed all overseas projects at USAID, the agency that provides foreign humanitarian aid, to be halted, and its more than 10,000 employees were told they were being placed on leave.
USAID projects play an integral part of America's foreign policy objectives, and we do all of this with less than 1% of the national budget.
At the White House today, President Trump didn't elaborate on his proposal for the U.S. to take control of and rebuild Gaza while having some 2 million Palestinians leave the territory.
Everybody loves it.
In his remarks Tuesday, Trump said Gaza could be a Riviera of the Middle East, suggesting Palestinians could be resettled in neighboring countries.
The president has made it clear that they need to be temporarily relocated out of Gaza for the rebuilding of this effort. Again, it's a demolition site right now. It's not a livable place for any human being.
The White House press secretary appeared to walk back the proposal and said the president had not committed to putting boots on the ground in Gaza. Erica Brown, CBS News, the White House.
Since the inauguration, President Trump has offered buyouts to 2 million federal workers. He's eliminated 16 inspectors general and fired Justice Department officials who investigated him. The rising cost of eggs is affecting restaurants across the country. Large chains like Waffle House are adding temporary surcharges of 50 cents per egg to all orders. But it's the local businesses and bakeries that will really feel the brunt. Grayson Passmore talked with a Lexington cheesecake baker who says she's not left with many options to battle the high egg prices.
In her bakery on West 6th Street, Ruth Ralph works on the latest orders of cheesecakes. But as is the nature of cheesecakes, they're all eggs and cream cheese. So when a bird flu disrupts the poultry industry nationwide, Ralph's Backroads Bakery feels some of the biggest effects.
It's been a struggle. The egg prices this week that were quoted to me were $7.60 a dozen, and by my distributor. And you know, at this point, I'm pretty much spending 10% of my gross sales just to buy eggs to keep up.
Ralph pulled some old invoices and found this time last year she was paying $1.67 a dozen.
Suddenly, you know, you're like, where's all my money going? And you realize it's in the simple products that you're not used to paying that much attention to.
Ralph says there really isn't much she can do to combat the rising cost of ingredients.
I feel like I'm already kind of maxed in the market pricing for this area, and there's really not much more to go.
The U.S. Department of Agriculture predicts egg prices to increase 20.3% throughout 2025. Dairy products are expected to increase 1.3%.
All the bakers, all your breakfast restaurants and stuff are going to be feeling the brunt of that, and probably, I'd say, for the rest of this year. Don't know. We'll see if we can all figure out a way to get through it.
In Lexington, Grayson Passmore, WKYT.
Ralph says she'll just have to wait and see what happens as the egg supply struggles to keep pace with current demand.